Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 759 of the, or 795, sorry, of the Trinity Force Podcast. I am, as always, your host, N.A. Eric, and it's me and John and Bomo, and we are chatting about all things League. There is some provisional patch notes out, but those have been in flux a lot recently, so we're going to wait to cover those until early next week, but we have a whole bunch of great stuff. But before I get into anything, we just wanted to make an announcement and say that we are accepting applications and looking for an additional host to join. So if you are interested, please message me on Discord or send it to our questions at trinityforcepodcast.com. Actually, that would be the best space to do it. Just email that email address with a short clip I'm talking like 30 to 60 seconds, talking about one specific patch note. Can be current, past, future, whatever. Your thoughts on it and what the ramifications are of it. Just not super long, but just enough for us to be able to hear your audio quality as well as the way that you're thinking about notes and things like that. So if you're interested, reach out and yeah. But now to current business. Gents, how are you? Bomo, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. I guess I'm playing more solo queue than I have previously in any other season. So it's February 1st, so 20 days since rank started, and I've played 35, 36 games. So what is that? I'm on pace for 45-ish games a month.
You have played 37 games.
37 games. So I'm on pace for about almost close to 50 games a month, which is a lot more than previously. So my next highest season of ranked games was season 3, and I played 290 games. So this is looking like my most played season just based on what I'm going, but sticking with two champs right now while climbing, and then might introduce a third depending on how the meta shakes up a bit, but just wanting to climb pretty high with a small champion pool, and just that's kind of the goal for everything. We started off 3-7 in promos, and now I'm 18 and 15
You're
or
20
something
and
like that?
17.
20 and 17, so yeah, close. Three win-loss difference, but we were able to pull it back from that deficit, and feels pretty good. The climb has been actually really good too. A lot of the games feel kind of easy. I think sticking with the two champs has made a lot of the laning exposure more simpler. So there's less things that I'm concerned about in the laning phase. I actually had a game where someone tried to hard counter pick me. I picked Yone blind, and they tried to counter pick me Pantheon, and they just. I think I knew more about that matchup than they did, so they thought they could just empower W onto me and win the trade every time, but they just didn't really understand what makes me weak against Pantheon, I think. So I think that's where a lot of the advantages I'm seeing coming in, and it's making at least the climb pretty decent right now. I think I'm almost gold 1. I'm like gold 2, like 70 or 80 LP. So yeah.
For the record, I'm looking it up, and that game that you're talking about, the person who played Pantheon is a Zillion main. So, not a Pantheon main.
Okay. that would make a little bit more sense. And so this goes to show you shouldn't always play counter pick champions. Just pick what you're good at. I'm pretty sure his Zillion would have been more competitive than his Pantheon, but that Pantheon just wasn't it.
Yeah, Zillion Swain is what this person plays. and then when they play top, it's Ornn or Cho'Gath. So very different champions than Pantheon. Yeah. Okay. Cool. How's everything outside of League going? Everything going well personally?
Yeah, things are good. Uh, same old, same old.
Nice. Cool. Your face is healed too. We're happy to see that.
It has, yeah. So my mouth, what was it? I forgot what we called it before, but that little crease in your lip is
I don't
pretty much all
remember.
healed now. So yeah, my face is pretty much all recovered from me falling.
Nice.
So you're talking about your commissure is healed.
Yeah.
That's what that was. Look at that. The dentist knowledge coming in.
Yeah.
The commissure. Yeah. How do you, John, how do you spell
Did
that?
I not teach you anything?
You did, but I immediately
C-O-
forgot it.
Yeah, COMMISSURRE.
COMMISSURE.
Yeah.
I'm getting something in the brain here. I'm getting a band of nerve tissue connecting the hemispheres of the brain, and two sides of the spinal cord. I was just curious to like look it up and see the anatomical stuff. I'm probably doing something wrong here. Whatever, but cool.
Gotta
Okay.
be more specific, Eric.
Okay. Because it did.
There's lots of commissures.
Yeah,
Commissures.
that's fair. It did say the first one was a joining of the like just two nerve
Just
things
put yeah.
of lips. There we go. The labial commissure of the mouth. It's the corner of the mouth where the vermilion border of the superior labium meets the inferior labium, so the upper lip to the lower lip. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Maybe I'll remember it this time now.
You're just become educated now.
I did. I'm so refined. John, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Cool. How's rank been? Have you finished any of your promos yet? Or not
no,
promos,
not
placements. Sorry.
Not on my main. I'm trying to get my Smurf to flat, so I can kind of have like two accounts that are near each other. But,
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I've been playing some ADC. Caitlyn feels really good. I've been playing a good bit of Caitlyn. Varus, been playing a little bit of Varus. Feels really good as well. But yeah, and then a little bit of jungle too. I've been actually playing a lot more Graves, and that's been going really well.
Solid.
So I mean, I'm just steadily climbing on that account, but I'll have to finish up my placements on my main.
Yeah, you are 5-0 right now. It looks like.
Yep.
Damn, a 107 on Twitch. That is. I'm like just looking at the U.GG scores of some of these games here. He is killing it. It is wild. I'll put it up on the screen here.
Yeah, Twitch is pretty good too, especially when you have Lulu.
One game of Tristana. I assume Twitch was banned, or maybe it made more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I just like Trish.
Oh, you were duoing for 4 of those games.
Yeah. So I played with that for the second game. The first game was a different Lulu. The second game, I played with that other Lulu, and it went well. So they wanted to duo with me afterward. So I just kept playing with them.
Nice. I was thinking you knew this person coming in. I'm surprised they let you duo when it's the first placements games.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that game went well, so I mean, they just friend requested me after.
Nice. Cool.
But, yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying ADC. I mean, the ADC changes feel nice. It feels like when you're like already really ahead, it feels even better. Like snowball bot lane feels pretty snowbally.
So, have you noticed the mana changes? Do you feel them?
Yeah, definitely on Caitlyn. Like I can, like before on Caitlyn early, if you full combo, you're just out of mana, or like pretty close.
Right. Cool. Okay. Interesting.
Same with Twitch. I mean,
did Twitch get any changes though?
Yeah, he got the I think some mana. something to do with the mana, and then also they had the buff to Bork for range
Right, they did.
users. So I mean that's super good for him.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad the climb's going well so far, and hopefully it continues to go that way. Mine has been quite well, quite good so far. I did fail my first promotional series into Plat. I learned that Trundle is not good right now, or doesn't feel good, because I pulled him out against was facing Udyr and a Draven as well, and a Garen. So I was like, okay, this fine. This calls for Trundle. But I played okay. The Iceborne Gauntlet doesn't feel very good on him. Don't do any damage, which is very much needed against when our team had Singed and Ziggs and Lethality Varus. He picked Varus, and I thought he was going on hit, so Trundle would have been better. But had I known he was going Lethality, I would have gone either a different build or just something different altogether. So yeah, but I'll get back into series probably this weekend and then go back up. So yeah, and then go ahead.
How did you feel about the 3 games for promos?
So
Thoughts?
I didn't love I didn't love it, but then again, if I lost 2 in a row, how likely was it that I was going to win the next 3 in a row? Really unlikely. So I didn't even get to live in that space where it would have made a difference, probably. Had I gone 1-1 and then lost, I would have been a little more salty about it. But this is only my first chance seeing it, so we'll see how it happens. Like for me battling to get back up to Plat, I'll
I guess
keep posted on it because you'll hit it too. You're almost a gold 1 as well.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't actually. Does it work for Plat if you drop out of promos and get back in? Do you automatically get a free win still?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see how that affects, because I feel like that's a pretty heavy swing, right? Having the single win already for a best of 3.
Yeah,
in order
that
to
would
promote.
be fantastic because then it's just you need to win 1 of the next 2 games. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think so for sure. I wish they would have done it where if your MMR was higher than where you are, you get an automatic free win in the promos, because then I would have gotten 1. I still would have lost because I would have gotten 1 and 2 anyways. But that just seems like something that would be nice to add in. But when I lost my promos 0-2, I did not end up with 75 LP. I was at 78, probably because my MMR is much higher. But yeah, it wasn't small difference because next game I was getting like 30 or so, I think. I guess not, maybe only like 15 or something, but I should get back in 1 to 2 games for promos, so I'm not super worried. But yeah, hopefully my man Jarvan gets the buff that they're toying with, because he's so far my best champion. Granted, I've only played 16 games or 14 games, so it's not a huge sample size, but yeah. Cool. Well, yeah. Outside of League, everything's going well with me. Just been trying to survive up here in the frigid Arctic. It's been super cold this week. Today's been the warmest of the last couple days, but Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all days are like in the morning. Where if at like 8 a.m. or so, if someone goes out, like when I'm going out to my car, it's -5, -6 degrees. So really cold, and I don't have a remote starter, so I can't sit in my apartment, sit in my house, and then just like point the remote starter and start to heat up the car. But so I just got to sit there and freeze, and then I had to put air in my tires too because it's so cold that my tires were depressed. So yesterday I drove around to 5 different gas stations trying to find air. I hit one gas station which didn't have air at all. There was 2 of them where they were out of order, and then 2 of them had like a 2 to 3 car deep line. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it in the morning. So I did it this morning. I got up early, went over, filled up my tires, and then filled up gas as well. And then a few minutes later, after I was driving, I could start to feel my fingers again. But yeah, it's pretty cold right here. But today it got warmer. It got up to 20 degrees, so I'm actually feeling pretty good. So yeah, Boma, what's the weather like for you, man? You're in California.
Yeah, it's a little cold here. I think in the morning when I was driving, it was like 48 degrees or something.
Okay, that's colder
And
than
then
I was expected.
during the day, it's like 62 ish, 63. Yeah, cold.
Yeah, that is pretty cold. Oh, you son of a bitch. Okay. Cool. Well, guys, let's talk about League generally, because as we said, we're waiting for patch notes and stuff. But let's talk state of the meta, and then some interesting, lots of like shakeup of different junglers and supports, and then mid lane, and like things are all over the place. So, um, I don't know. Where do we want to start? Do we want to? I mean, John, you threw out a whole bunch of these points here. Which one do you want to take first?
I mean, have y'all played any ADC or
I've played a
any?
little bit. Yes, I played a couple
What do you think of
games.
it?
Um, so I do think that the mana management, I notice it, and passively just when I'm playing in games and other people are playing ADC, I'm not noticing the out of mana as often or it being as much of an issue. And I'm sure that's not a function of everyone in my games managing their mana, but managing their mana better. That's not happening. It's that it's giving more wiggle room and more spell rotations and such, like you were talking about a little earlier with Caitlyn. So that's been noticeable. Um, it's also been I've seen a lot of weird supports recently too, because the support pool is really, really. I think it's the widest of any position right now. I mean, for example, we played against the other day, John. We played against a Silas support, and that was he was pretty decent. Late game, he got just blown up, and it wasn't that helpful. But early on, he was clapping. It was strong. But then there's still, your traditional supports can still be played, although a lot of them need help, which will be coming next patch, hopefully. And then you have all sorts of stuff that you have. I mean, people. I play Jarvan down there. People play. I've seen a Nico support not that long ago. I played against a Belveth support in ranked in my first game. I was like, what is this season giving me if the first game was against a Belveth support? And then you still get the Lulus and the Namis, and then every once in a while a Soraka, and you want to pull your hair out. But um, I think ADC is feeling better. It does feel a little stronger as well because of the item changes. It allows you to snowball faster, is what I'm seeing. Yesterday in community night, we played a game against, and their bot lane got rolling. So Tristana had Kraken Slayer IE before our bot laner had a mythic. Um, it's just that Tristana managed to get rolling due to fault of many of us, and it was nasty. Normally, that would have had to have been Phantom Dancer or Bloodthirster or I don't know, some other non-IE item. So Tristana wouldn't be hitting as hard, but the Trist was absolutely blowing us up, literally with the bomb, and it was nasty to see. So the role feels more powerful overall, but not crazily so, where we've totally shifted in metas. And we'll see if that plays out in pro play. I suspect that there will be some changes. Um, yeah, that's kind of my read on it. Does that sync with what you guys are seeing? Does that sync with what you're seeing, John?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of like interesting builds now too that are really good on people. Like for example, like on Kaisa, you can go Nabari second. It's very good on her. It does so much damage. Or IE. Same as what you were talking about with Triss, where you can go Kraken Nabari or Kraken IE. And then on Caitlyn, I guess specifically too, like when you're like really ahead on Kate, you can just buy a BF sword and a pickaxe on your like two like first buys, and then go Berserker Greaves, and then finish IE, and then just do the double crit click, and you get the passive. And
Oh,
then you
right,
still get
because of
Mythic
the
after that.
yeah. Oh, damn.
I mean, that's only like when you're like super ahead, but I've seen that a few times.
Or if you
Also,
happen
you
to go back with 800 a couple times and it's an awkward number to be able to buy anything. Or 600, sorry, cloak fragility.
yeah, if you get the cloak, I think it's like you have to have like 1700. So you have the cloak to get your mythic. Once you have the pickaxe already. But yeah, I mean, also I agree. Seeing like weird stuff in bot lane, everything really imaginable. A lot of Heimerdinger.
Yeah, I haven't had to face
A lot of
Heimerdinger
Karthus.
at all. I know that it's popular and it's all over the place, but I haven't had to face it. You're seeing Karthus in bot lane?
Yeah.
Dang. I mean, I've seen it before. I haven't seen it at all recently. Bomo, have you been seeing any of this weird stuff going on in bot?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen like weird champion picks, but I feel like ADCs have a little more agency now. It seems like they are coming online sooner. So from like a midline perspective, a lot of the games aren't dictated by like early kills. I feel like before, if you get dove twice under turret and your bot lane is like 0-2 or 0-4 total, then it seems kind of over. But I think having easier, well, being able to get the IE as a second item, I think is a huge benefit for like Caitlyn and Twitch, who have kind of, when they fall behind early, then they're pretty useless, right? But now with the changes that you can get IE sooner, then it doesn't feel like they're worthless anymore, even though they're behind. They can still get damage out, and so it definitely feels like they're able to hang in there a little bit more, kind of like mid and top laners who are kind of behind, but they're still able to contribute. Where before I feel like if an ADC was behind, then they're just a walking sack of gold at that point. But now it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like that anymore.
Yeah, and
I was
also
I
it's
was just
like
gonna say sorry. I definitely agree with your walking sack of gold. That's a fantastic analogy. Go ahead, John.
the other nice thing is you can just go regular like Gale Force into IE as Caitlyn or whoever if you're going Gale Force, and I mean that feels really good as well. So I think overall the change and then so one other I guess change that I think that change specifically was insane for is Ezreal because I think Essence Reaver Nabori feels insane on him.
So Essence Reaver Navori Kraken is the build you're talking about?
Or yeah, just whatever mythic you need. Yeah, Gale Force, Kraken.
Right, as opposed to going then, the more castery style with Sunderer.
Yeah, but it makes your cooldowns just so low, and your damage is already. I don't know. Nabari does a good bit of damage as well, and it gives you a ton of ability haste, which Ezreal likes. So, and then you get even more from like his passive and then the Nabari passive. So, I mean, you just permanently get your abilities, which is always nice on him.
You definitely have your abilities permanently. It's wild. Yeah. I when I saw it being played around, I think I watched a Midbeast video where he was covering someone doing it, and it was crazy to see how fast I mean, it's you fire the Q. It's basically Earth style with the Q, constantly up, which is wild to me. Um, that seems like they might have to make an adjustment for that build specifically, but also, then again, if you're playing that build style on Ezreal, if you're not ahead, then you're it's a very risk reward style for him. You need to make sure that you're able to push your lead, otherwise you're not going to do anything at all. Like I played it a couple times, and one time it worked well, and the other time, granted I'm not an Ezreal aficionado, but the other time I played it, it was disastrous. Even once I still had my the core 3 items, it still did not work well at all because I was too far behind relative to others, or there were champions that could immediately, like, if I got into range of them, just just blow me up instantly, like a Vigor or a Silas, I think was in those games or something like that.
Yeah, I guess the other him and then Bars also feels really good. I think also just because he has a lot of different viable builds for different situations. Like you can go AP, you can go lethality is good on him right now. On hits, okay.
On hit has the highest win rate, actually.
I feel like they just built the most too.
Sure, it does have. If I'm looking in number of matches, yeah, it's hard to tell. Lethality doesn't have any immediate stats when I'm looking on the u.gg here, but let's see, pick rate, 52% of the time people are going shield bow for a first item, and then it's Ghost Blade, not Dusk Blade. Ghost Blade is the second most popular, and then Eclipse, and then oh my god, it's Dusk Blade is all the way down at 3% of the games. I guess you would be going Eclipse with him. Not once they change Eclipse, though. I don't think Eclipse would be the one you'd go after then anymore.
I mean, I think it would still be decent because he just gets so much attack speed for free that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, but why not go for Duskblade then, or just go full on damage and go Prowler's Claw?
I mean, I guess it just really depends. I don't know.
It does depend on the
'Cause
game
I feel like
situation.
the passive is nice, like in lane for Eclipse.
Sure,
But the
for the
Prowlers is really impressive in lane too.
yeah, Prowler's Claw definitely with the. It also like you
It's great on him too.
yeah, you can do some really creative stuff with ranged characters that don't want to be up close but go Prowler's Claw. If for some reason the enemy team happens to get on top of you, you can avoid stuff by Prowler's Clawing through someone, or I do that on I build Prowler's Claw on Ezreal sometimes, and it's really funny to like E in and Prowler's Claw through them and auto them and shit and throw Qs as well. But that wasn't a very good description at all. But it's actually really fun to play Prowler's Claw Ezreal, and I would highly recommend people try it out, just at least for shits and giggles.
Yeah. Also, the AP Varus actually has a good win rate. Like the, I mean, obviously into the right situation, but Nashor's Riftmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always surprised how strong AP Varus is. Uh, it's kind of nuts because you're built. I mean, obviously Nashor's makes sense because he could use that and then go on hit or something like that. It does a lot of damage. Okay, cool. But then when you're building like Riftmaker, I don't know what it is, but for some reason my brain doesn't compute that this character can, if they hit their R on me, I'm dead. I'm just dead. And there's nothing I can do about it unless I'm, like a full MR tank, like building full magic resist Galio or something crazy.
Yeah, I feel like you look at the death recap against Varus, and it's always like his R does 1,200 damage to you, and then his just like one auto Q does like 800 damage. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because and it's always the enhanced W as well, which is doing like 15 or 20% of your max health as well on the damage. Just boom, gone instantly. Fucking nuts. Boma, why don't you mix in AP Varus into your champ pool?
I'm just sticking with my two right now. I think so. For me, I'm actually having probably the most fun in league right now with my two champions. I'm at the point where I enjoy matchups a lot. I don't know if that's making any sense, but I've gotten to the point where I've played Diana and Yone so much that the fun for me is now how that champion interacts with the enemy laner and specific things. So I VOD review all my games too, and I take notes of all my games. And so the notes, I guess it's almost like studying, almost right, where you're studying for a test or an exam. And my homework is doing my VOD reviews and seeing stuff I didn't see in the moment. I don't know if it's if probably it's pretty similar to a lot of people where in game, right, you're in a certain like state of mind when you're playing, and your thoughts about how to play that specific moment is swayed by probably what has happened in the game, and so you don't really have a full picture, right, of how that game ought to be played. So for me, it's getting to the point now where I'm recognizing things in prior games, and using that in the current game, and I guess I don't have to think. It's becoming very second nature to me. So I'm getting like some crazy outplays and like positionings just because of not having to think about what I'm going to do. Essentially, it kind of just like happens, and so I think that's it's actually getting super fun for me to play League again. I think this is probably the most fun I've had playing League. Um, and it's really weird too because I used to get bored of champions pretty quickly, but I think I was just confusing boredom with like the honeymoon phase of playing a new champion. Where you're starting a new champion, you're kind of learning its abilities, and then you just don't perform on it, right? Because it's like you 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 don't actually know how to play the champion. You're just learning what it does, and the hard part is actually understanding how that champion interacts with all the other champions, and that's where you would used to drop a lot of champions. Like, oh, I played like 10-ish games on a champion. I know how to play it, and then I just start losing, and it's like, oh, this isn't fun anymore. But I've kind of gotten over that hurdle with these two champions, and so I'm actually fine not picking up a new champion now. I think I might pick up a new one in plat, but I think these two, I'm just having way too much fun just playing these two champions, honestly, and so I don't find a need to bring in another champion right now. And I think I would want to wait a little bit too until I see with all these item changes and shifts. I personally think Roa and Tier are really good on mage champions, and so I'm thinking about picking up those types of champions. But to your point, I did play a lot of Varus when I played ADC, so maybe AP Varus is the tech, but a lot of his damage is pretty much around his ultimate and his W. So you get a lot of the burst damage because of the blight stacks, right? And you can stack that with your ultimate, and then you can restack it with Halo Blades or auto attacks, essentially. So that maybe, but it feels kind of weird just being completely reliant on having your ultimate as the only way to really kill people on AP Varus.
You could pull out that faker tech recently. Go Udyr mid.
Udyr mid. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Demonic is really strong right now, too. I think people should be playing Demonic champions. I've been banning Maokai and Zac in every game I've played because I think they're just way overtuned right now. And so Demonic is playing a part. And I actually like Demonic on Diana, too. I've been going some weird builds and trying out weird things right now at the start of the season with Diana and Yone. Like, I've been talking about the Rift Maker Yone build, and I'm a big fan of it. And so I've been looking at weird like demonic seraph type builds on Diana. So we'll have to see, but the experimentation has been actually really fun too with these two champions, just with what I think are pretty strong items in the game.
Okay, respect. I mean, I was more just recommending Varus just to cause trouble, but very good answer there. It was a lot
Maybe in
more
Flex Q,
in Flex Cube for
play
sure.
some AP Varus and Flex.
You said you were gonna get a third pick once you got back into plat, maybe.
I think so. Just so I can have, I think I need a range champion in my pool for sure. I don't know what range champion it would be. I'm thinking
Rumble.
Well, he's not really a range champion. I already played 2 melee champions, and so I feel like there's like times where range is probably better because I think both my champions play very similarly. They want to get onto the back line and disrupt the back line. They don't really want to deal with the front line. And so I think having a different playstyle might be better for me instead of just being so one-dimensional with how I play my champion. So that's why I'm thinking about like a range champion.
Have you played Corky much?
I played him a decent amount in my competitive games.
Well, imagine having package on your R at every objective as a Rumble.
I guess so. But yeah,
That's-
I don't know.
that
We'll have to
build-
see.
The Night Harvester build on him,
Mhm.
just it does an absurd amount of damage.
I think
onto,
when I
like,
was
all the squishies and stuff.
when I was getting back into League, I actually played Rumble mid pretty decently. So my 3 champions when I was coming back into playing like ranked again, season 9, I think, I was playing Echo, Diana, and Rumble mid. And I was actually a big fan of like the proto belt on Rumble. So maybe I might try out.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I like
yeah.
Proto Bell on him
I,
too.
I gotta save all these picks for flex now, and then just play them in flex and see how I feel about them.
Well, I looked at the
Sure.
stats, and Rumble has a 51.5% win rate in mid with a 1.5% pick rate. So, but I do think
that
a
Night
mistake
Harvester,
that, yeah, Night Harvester. I think
Demonic, right?
I don't know. Let me see. Nope. Night
Night Harvester,
Harvester, Shadow Flame, either. I mean, it's Night Harvester, Shadow Flame, either Death Cap or Hourglass, and then I mean, typical like LeBlanc style mage items are what it's recommending.
I feel
But
like Demonic is actually so much better second because Night Harvester gives you 300 health too.
let me see about yeah, Night Harvest or Demonic first is 49% win rate overall. Demonic second goes up to 52.9, which is it's basically the highest, except if you're flip-flopping Demonic and Night Harvester order wise. So why not go Riftmaker on him?
I feel like the other items are just so much better.
I think you have to like actually be more in combat, right? With Riftmaker. So do you have to be in combat, or do you just have to be damaging enemies?
To start it?
Yeah, to start stacking it, right?
For
It stacks over, like, a
for
period amount
each
of time?
second, damaging enemy champions deal bonus damage at max strength. The bonus damage is dealt as true damage instead. Basically, you just need to. It's over 3 seconds though. So if you take any source of damage, 3 seconds later, it's procced and ready to go. So yeah, I mean, it's probably now that I mean
Maybe?
he's a bit too bursty potentially for it. The main
Mhm.
champion that I think doesn't build it that needs to build it is Swain. Swain is a Riftmaker user. I don't like these non-Riftmaker builds on Swain.
You don't like Leandris? I feel like Leandris is pretty good. The
It
burn?
is.
You don't like the burn?
I like the burn. I also like Riftmaker. Go demonic then afterwards.
Yeah, I was so I like really want to play some like really weird item setups. I want to go like a Riftmaker, Abyssal Mask, Demonic type builds on champions for some reason all the time. I feel like that could slot in pretty well. Um, I was actually just looking at the Riftmaker details, and I know Rumble's kit is somewhat bursty, but he does a lot of auto attack damage with his overheat, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what if we went like lethal tempo Rumble,
No.
and you max overheat with Riftmaker, and you just start hitting, you just start hitting people? Do you think that would be good?
I think it'd be funny. I don't think it'd be good just
Yeah.
because that's such a small amount of time of your overall kit that
Plus, you get the attack speed like inherently from your
So then
like
Conquer.
your overheat and silenced. Yeah.
Conquer is
Would you go
okay.
Conquer?
Yeah. Yeah, Conquer's you can't go Conquer. I
The
feel
main
like that's sometimes pretty good into like melee, bruiser.
the main rune is Comet, though.
But that's really for laning, though, right? It's not so much. I'm trying to think more of like scrapping and like skirmish orientation.
Then take
I mean,
grasp.
I think Night Harvester is
Grasp?
so good because I mean, it gives you. So, I guess Eric, to your question about Riftmaker, I mean, like Riftmaker, people do go it on him. The sample size looks pretty small though,
Yeah.
like comparatively to, and I feel like the reason being because like both Night Harvester and Rocket Belt give you 90 AP, and like on him you just like want that raw AP, and then not only that, both give you ability haste and health. And I feel like on Rumble you want to build pen or and like ability haste. So I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get as much value from the Omni Vamp too on Riftmaker, but I don't know if you feel like you're gonna be like fighting a lot, like and have like other burn stuff to keep the passive going, maybe. But I don't know. I like just the super bursty because then it gets to the point where you just can ult and do like 3 people on their team half their health or more, and then it's easy to finish someone off with like Night Harvester or Proto Belt if they get caught, especially because I don't know. I feel like the bursty feels better.
It's probably better for sure. Yeah, maybe mix in Rumble, but he's not a ranged champion. That's what we'll have for our next question of the week. Is since we just posted. Oh, actually, we posted one, and I should probably announce it. I'll do it at the end of the episode, but that'll be what our next one is. What range champion should Bomo add to his champ pool? Bonus one if you want to write in. Go ahead and answer. We'll see, and maybe he'll pick up the most popular one.
I will also donate $25 worth of RP if I end up choosing your champion for this season.
Ooh,
Throw some
okay.
stake in it.
Okay. So, what constitutes choosing? Because I'm sure you're going to try out multiple of these. So, like, how long into this? How many games do you have to play? Like, what's the threshold? Are we saying here?
Let's say I'd have to play at least 20 solo queue games this year. So, including both splits. If I get at least 20 solo queue games, then I think it's at a point where I've picked that up.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of these champions I would play in flex, not really solo queue. And
Yeah.
then maybe depending on how I feel, I might play a couple games here and there in solo queue, but if I really stick with it, then it'll be like 20 plus games, I feel like.
Okay. Cool. So, if you're, yeah, go ahead and submit submit your suggestions on who he should add. Criteria must be a range champion. Only that's the only criteria. So yeah, go ahead and let us know about that. What else do we want to talk about, gents? Some of the, I mean, what about have you guys been watching Pro Play at all?
I have.
Okay. Which leagues have you been watching?
Not LCS.
Good.
Not LCS. Because the time is not working for me. And I don't want to bother watching the VODs when I get home because it's not worth it to watch the VODs. The only VODs I watch are LPL and LCK.
Yep, agreed. Do you watch the highlights at all, even though? Sometimes I watch LCS highlights, like, it's like 30 minutes and they go through every game.
I don't
that
even watch
happens.
highlights. I just read the post-match thread on Reddit and I was like, oh, okay. And then that's it.
Gotcha. John, have you been watching any pro?
Not a whole lot. A little bit of LCK. That's where I saw the Caitlyn support.
Yep, I watched that game too, and did you guys see what happened on? I think it's Saturday our time. The what carry pulled out this time? No,
Was
he
it the
did not.
Callista?
It was the Callista support. Callista support. So
Yeah, right.
That's wild.
Did
so
you hear their reasoning of why they're picking these support champions?
no, I didn't. I have my
So-
ideas, but what they say?
They think Hela Blades paired with Serrated Dirk is too strong. And with these 80 champions, they built Serrated Dirk into
Umbral.
Umbral Glaive. And so they think that combination is just way too strong to not be playing 80 carry supports because of the mixture of the lethality on top of the large amount of vision control they get.
That makes sense. Callista is a better candidate than Caitlyn for that because she also has the thralls. And then if you guys haven't seen I mean, I would encourage everyone at least go watch the highlights of that game. It was game 3 against oh, what did Damwon change their name to? D plus Kia and versus T1, and then on top of all the other stuff that Callista offers relative to Caitlyn, Callista paired with Draven, and then because they picked Draven into it, and in the last team fight, Draven got CC'd, so Keria ulted and then threw Draven right into the enemy team for a 3-man knockup as well. Like, sacrifice Guma to the wolves. I mean, he still had a bunch of health, so he got a kill, but like
He
sacrifice
chose
him.
that.
Oh,
Right?
did
So
oh
if you
right.
get pulled by Callista, you can choose to go back in because you choose where to come back. And so I think Guma chose to 3-man knock them all up, but they comboed it well with
It was the
who
Azir
was
wall,
their
wasn't it? It was Faker wall.
Yazir? Yeah. It was like a combo. It was like a huge wombo combo, like from getting caught out to just turning the fight and turning to a huge like counter like engage. It was crazy.
It was wild. John, you should go watch the highlights if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'll go watch them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, what did you think of John? What did you think of Caitlyn? Like, did you think that it? I mean, it's obviously interesting. Do you think it was any good?
I mean, I think they won lane that game, and they won the game. I mean, like if you're good at it, I mean, she can be so annoying. I mean, she can just auto them constantly, and then put the traps in the bush. You can get good bush control. The traps. I mean, she just has pretty good AD scaling, so it's like, I mean, she just does a lot of damage. And I
Yeah,
think she's just good right now too. Like she's just strong, so I feel like that could be part of it too.
she is pretty strong in general. And she doesn't have hardly any bad matchups. They also played it into, I want to say that they either played it into Zeri Lulu or Zeri Yumi. I'm not sure. That's what they did both times with these lethalities. They played it into Zeri plus X. It was either Yumi or Lulu as well. So if you weren't going to win lane before against that combination, you're definitely going to now with a Callista or a Caitlyn with lethality and Halo Blades. And then Carrie's been doing this thing too that I've seen, which I haven't seen it on any other supports in LCK or anyone do it in LEC as well. Or you take barrier and then like basically immediately you just trade hard and pop your barrier to nullify their trade at the very beginning because barrier has a low cooldown. So you're giving yourself 200 extra health for them to try and like trade back, but oh sorry, you can't trade back into my extra health. And yeah, this will take a couple minutes for it to be back up, but sorry, we have lane control now. Eat shit. That's basically what it did.
Yeah, on top of Halo Blades too, you're just getting so many auto attacks out. It's kind of insane. The amount of damage level 1 with barrier, and you don't take anything back. And at that point, yeah, what is it like a minute and like no 2 minutes and 30 seconds? I think that's the barrier timer.
I'm not sure. Let me look.
3 minutes? Is it 180 or 150 seconds? But
I will look.
being able to just chunk them out for like 400 HP level 1 is huge for the laning phase.
Barrier is a 3-minute cooldown, and level 1 it's 105 shield. It scales up to be 411.
Mm-hmm. That's a single pot, right? 105.
I
Like
think so.
instantaneously.
I think so. Let me look at these health.
That's a lot of health.
Let me see what the consumables are. Health potion is. Oh, health potion gives you 120. Yeah.
120.
And then
okay.
refillable is 100.
So it's
So it's pretty. Yeah.
It's pretty
Level 1.
fucking good.
Yeah. It's essentially effectively a free health pot after level 2 or something every 3 minutes. So
Yeah, with no
pretty
mana
good for the laning
cost.
phase.
No, yeah, it's wild. And then if there's later on, it just offers more survivability as well. I think it's better on. I think it would be better on Callista than Caitlyn, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's instantaneous too. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not health over time. So the instantaneous health is a lot more stronger than a health potion too, I think.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm just looking on the totally unrelated to what we're talking about. Sorry. It is much stronger because it is instant for sure. But on the consumable item page of the LOL wiki, on the over 2010, the Halloween event, the harrowing, the consumables had their icons changed and their names changed. So elixirs were candies, but then health potion was changed to candy corn, and it was a candy corn icon. And mana potions, back when those existed, were mana encrusted apples as well. Very, very, very cool. Also, oh, there was a glitch where you could use your consumables on another player and it still would work on yourself. Oh my god. Oh.
That's hilarious.
That's actually wild. Just drive-by healing for my mid laner. It's like, oh, thank you.
That's wild. Oh my god. If that was in the game now, that would get patched out so fast.
Yeah, it's kind of
No, the,
crazy. Like when League first started, did you guys play when Gangplank was before he was reworked? Not this
Yes.
recent rework, but before that. So he had a ability called Morale, right? And you literally sacrifice one of your minions to give yourself like I think boosted attack damage or boosted attack speed. So literally what you do at the start of the game is you morale a minion right when the wave spawns, and you walk up with it and you morale it again, and that denied 2 minions at the first wave. It was kind of insane because you automatically get pushed. Well, I mean, people didn't know about wave control back then, but the theory behind it is, right, you're getting pushed into and you're denying your enemy opponent lane experience by just killing your own minions.
I'm looking to see exactly because I remember the morale as well. I'm that was such a wild thing. I mean, that's very Dota-esque where kill your own you could kill your own minions. You can in Dota. Oh, I can't find original Gangplank. I'm trying to find the wiki for him, but there isn't a page for him specifically. But yeah, the morale, I remember that. He was so good in Earth. Oh my god, when they first released Earth, you could spam E every second. And yes, you would murder your wave and such, but you would constantly have an extra like 40 AD and attack speed. It was absurd. Ooh, I'm also reading. Sorry, and then we'll get back on. This has been very tangential, and I apologize for that overall. But one of the scrapped spells tested during Gangplank's rework summoned a pirate Gundam. Don't know what that actually is. It's a Japanese giant robot that fired mid-range cannonballs from its arm and attacked with a mini version of Malphite's ult. Oh my god. That's wild. So he would summon it probably for his ultimate. It would be a mini Malphite ult, and then it would shoot cannonballs at people.
That sounds so OP.
It does.
Sounds so fun.
Yeah, holy Christ. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. I mean, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. Last episode, John and I talked pretty heavily about how we hate how ability haste is everywhere. And you don't have to sacrifice much for it. And if you want to hear the full discussion, you can go listen to 794. But just wanted to see, what your thoughts are on the state of ability haste right now in the game. And I guess specifically how that relates to your champions as well. I guess just overall, like what are your thoughts on ability haste in League right now?
I think it's pretty strong right now, but only for champions that don't use mana. So I guess with the current changes to ADC mana, you have a little bit more mana, but it almost feels like nowadays you don't really have to worry about going it feels like junglers, I feel like, are never
Never.
at all. But I guess that's a mechanic of the jungle. And like Aatrox is a menace, especially with ability haste too. Like if all of his rotations are based on how much CDR or ability haste he has, then there's no like there's really no downside of spamming abilities on him, right? So I guess I'm trying to articulate how you should be punished for not hitting your abilities, right? I think that's how skill shots should work in the game. You're trading mana on mana champions. You're trading mana for their HP, um, and it's a game of balancing resources. And so if one resource is non-existent for a champion, then uh, there's no downside to misplaying. So I guess in the perspective of Diana, all of Diana's mid lane play is based around hitting Qs. Um, so you can use Q to push the wave or thin the wave, as well as get poke damage on enemy champions. And so she goes electrocute a lot of times. I'm a big fan of phase rush, and I've been trying out a little bit of conquer in the mid lane, but generally her most taken rune is electrocute. And I think what people misunderstand is, oh, electrocute is up, I have to proc it. But a lot of the way that she plays is you want to first poke him down, and that takes a lot of mana from her. And so what you want to do is hit your Qs, use mana, and then when you're close to being like one or two spell rotations, and you're close to then you should have chipped them down enough where you're able to do a decent amount of damage to them with an electrocute proc and eing onto them after hitting a Q. So that's kind of maybe the bias from my side is if I'm not hitting Qs, I'm going and I'm not going to be able to kill them or do anything significant in lane because I haven't been hitting my ability. So that's kind of the aspect of if you play poorly, you will do poorly. But like something like an Aatrox, he can miss all of his Qs, but the more ability haste he has, it doesn't matter because he can just keep spamming Qs over and over again. So you can do your job of dodging the Qs, but the one time he lands all three is it does a lot of damage, and it feels almost unfair, I guess, in a way where you did your part of dodging all of his abilities, like 2-3 spell rotations worth of dodging, but he's not really punished for it essentially. So I guess I'm trying to say it's too strong on champions that don't use resources.
Yeah, and I guess to throw a few more in there, um, these wouldn't be champions that use their health as a resource, like a Mundo, like a Vladimir, um,
Exactly. Yeah.
or Zac. Those are champions that use their health as a resource. But then there's
Mhm.
other champions that don't, that are completely resourceless. We're looking at Kled, Set, uh, I mean, Aatrox you brought up as well. Katarina is resource. I mean, there's quite a few. Garen is resourceless,
Mhm.
and so a lot of those spells, I will say, from those characters, champions, you're not necessarily just using them on repeat. I mean, Aatrox you are. Not many of those other ones that are resourceless are you really using them on off cooldown just because of the way that the abilities function and your effective range
Mhm.
and such. But there, I do. This is something that we didn't even bring up last week, and I do appreciate it. You bringing it up, that there is really no, other than them. Oh, now my abilities on cooldown. There is no downside to Katarina not having her Q. You know, if she uses it and it doesn't bounce in the right spot, whatever, it's not a big deal. Or Garen pressing W and not nullifying damage, ideally, not a big deal at all. Whereas if you're playing Kasanti, yes, he has low mana cost, but if he has to use his E and block some, and he uses it poorly, block some damage, then he still has an issue of, um, he still has the issue of he loses the mana for it. So there is the trade off.
Mhm.
And I do agree with you that it is pretty hard. You have to be overusing your abilities a lot of the time on champions to go out of mana.
Mhm.
Except for 80 carries before this change, but even so now, still some of them didn't get mana changes. Um, some supports still suffer from major mana issues that aren't a major part of their kit. Like Blitzcrank suffers from major mana issues, but he should, because his Q is arguably the best Q ability in the game. It's arguably the best basic ability in the game. So of
Mhm.
course he should suffer from mana issues. But there's others that
Yeah,
don't and such. Yeah.
and so strictly from a mid lane perspective, there are specific champions that you want them to use abilities to burn a lot of mana. So like Azir and Corki, you want to engage on them or have your jungler gank them so they use their dash or escape, because that takes a lot of mana from their mana reserve. So if you if a jungler just walks by and burns a Corki W, that's 100, and I think that's 100 mana right off the bat that they're losing.
I will look.
And that's a lot of mana in the laning phase when you're playing Corki, right? And same with Azir. The entire combo of QWE takes like I think 120, 130 mana. It's a significant amount of mana that you're effectively throwing away, right? Because you're not trading with it. You're just using it to get out of a gank. So you're preserving your health, and possibly your flash. And I think that's how the game should be played. There has to be trade-offs, right, of using specific things at suboptimal times.
Valkyrie, you're right, 100 mana. That is wild, especially
Mhm.
because level 1, I mean, he starts with um, 350 mana. So let's say level
Mhm.
3, something happens. He has 429 base mana, assuming he doesn't buy a Sapphire Crystal first, which Corki doesn't.
Yeah.
Then you're blowing a quarter of his mana pool on a W immediately. That's a quarter of his
Yeah.
mana pool gone.
And you're thinking too, like, this is without using any abilities from levels 1 through 4. Like, he's not using Qs or Es in the lane. And this is strictly a single W to escape a gank at level 4 is a quarter of his mana. And so if he starts using abilities to farm in CS, because that's what you kind of need to do on Corki to get as much farm as you can, it it, it adds up like pretty significantly over time in the laning phase.
Agreed. I'm looking at Azir now because those are the two that you brought up. Azir's mana, if he needs to use all three of his abilities, is going to be 155 mana. Let's say that he has a soldier on the ground and then he can just QE to it. He's going to use instead 115 mana. The E on its own is 60. So yeah, but also if he needs to have a soldier ready to cast because he has to recharge them if he's gonna summon a soldier Q and then E2 it away, or EQ if they're better than that. And he starts with more mana than Corki does, but level 3 he has 510, so you're still looking at like a third of the mana pool gone instantly. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean this definitely a good point to bring up. Since John and I were talking last week, I've been more aware of when I've been playing and seeing my ability haste numbers and such. Yesterday, I played a game of ARAM and I was playing Swain, and I think I had, or maybe I might have been playing Kane. I'm not sure, but I had an item and a half, and um, it might have been a couple days ago or whatever. But I had an item and a half, and I had 60 ability haste, which gave me 37% CDR, which that was, if in order before they changed cooldown reduction, to get 37 you couldn't before, but to get 35 or 40 you needed to be 3-4 items deep in the game, not 1.5 there. I almost feel like they should make it so if they're not gonna change the ability haste, take it away from items and buff them subsequently, or maybe not even just buff them, just take it away from some items, then they need to uh, make it so every point of ability haste is actually less effective and change the formula to make it even worse overall. There's too many ways to get it, and it's too. I mean, if you go hardcore ability haste and you're going max ability haste, have you guys seen those videos of Gragas in a normal game bopping people, like using his E and able, as soon as you hit someone, it reduces it by a flat 2 seconds. You can use your E again as soon as it hits them before they're ever able to recover. So you can, assuming you have the mana, instantly just continue to use Gragasy on cooldown and kill them. And they literally have no way to stop it because it's a knockup. They can't, it's a small knockup, but they cannot respond to it.
Yeah, so it's actually 3 seconds for hitting an enemy with Gragas E2.
Oh my
right?
god.
So at max level, it's 12 second cooldown at max rank. So if you're hitting your E in itself, it's already reducing 25% of the ability cooldown. And so if they're stunned for 1 second, it's a significant amount because you just throw a Q on them too and they're slowed. There's no way they can get away from me for building full like ability haste Gragas and just constantly just knocking them up and slowing them with Qs.
Yeah, the max ability haste that a character that you can actually get is it's something like you can get up to like 60 or 70% what would be CDR. You can get up to maybe like 80 or so. You can get a lot. Okay, so I'm guessing as of a Reddit post from a couple of years ago, so it's not current, but 238 ability haste, which translates to 70% CDR. So if you take 70% off of that, or if you take, let's take 3/4 off of that, right? Then you're down to 3 seconds on the Graga. So then you just hit E. Oh, it's up again. Oh, it's up again. Oh, it's up again. You can instantly channel that together. And those items that are allowing you to get such levels of ability haste, even if you change a couple items or so to get a little bit less, a lot of them are AP focused too. So that should not be possible. That should be an Earth only thing. And even in Earth, I don't know if you can do that because everyone has increased, like, knockups last less long and other things like that. I guess I just brought this all up to say I've been a lot more aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that, like, there's so many items that just give you 20 ability haste. And it's like, that's like Lucidity boot levels of ability haste, which I feel like is the standard for an ability haste. I don't know. I just feel like it should be like a one item thing for each class that has. It should be a trade off, like you were saying.
Yeah, I
like
think
we
a
talked
lot of
about
it.
last week.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too also has to come with like they reworked a lot of these items, right, for like build diversity, but it seems like they're all kind of similar, you know. And maybe that's kind of the issue too. Is why buy this item for an extra 5 AP when I can get an extra 10 ability haste type of situation where if I can get my spells out quicker, then the damage is negligible at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at ability haste, and there are. Okay. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna see if I can copy all this, throw it in an Excel sheet, and see. Can someone look up how many items there are in the game? Completed items, I should say, so that I can see, so that we can actually see how many of these. Okay, this is gonna be. Is it gonna cooperate? I'm just seeing. Okay, so. Okay, cool. We're looking at 90 items have ability haste baked in. That's in the actual build path. That doesn't even include additional passives such as Duskblade pass, or any of the lethality ones give you, or Duskblade does, Gore Drinker does, Leandry does, Night Harvester, Rod of Ages does, Vigilant Wardstone, Triforce, Radiant Virtue, Stat Flowing Water, Shirelia's, Transcendence, the rune. There's also the ability haste rune shard, and then you can also get blue buff. There's also champions that get it a little bit as well. Sona gets it baked in. And then Ultimate Hunter can. There's other ways to do it as well.
So there's 75 legendary items and 27 mythic items. So 102 total items, and 90 something have ability haste.
90 have ability haste on them. Okay,
Yeah, so
sorry.
almost
Sorry.
every
This
item.
actually, now that I'm looking at it, this has components in it as well. So it's not going to be every single item, but even the components have them too.
Mhm.
I could filter it by just it's like, oh my god. Everything, basically everything I'm looking at that costs north of 3,000 gold has it, other than Death Cap is what I'm seeing, and I guess IE. But yeah, anything that's not just a straight up fucking stat stick has IE in it, or not IE, has ability haste in it. That's, oh my god, there's too much ability haste, folks. Okay. Anything else we wanted to cover, or should we just we've been talking about these couple things for quite a while. We're hour and 10 minutes or so, and yeah, then next week we'll cover patch 13.3 it is. But anything else that we wanted to talk about quick?
I don't think so. I think we wanted to cover everything that we had wanted to discuss.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
quite tangentially, if I will add as well.
Mhm.
So, okay, cool. So, yep, please let us know which champion you think that Bomo should add to his champ pool. Also, if you're interested in joining our crew, listen to the beginning. Go back to the beginning of this episode so you can listen to the instructions about where to send stuff. As well, additionally, or I guess if you have questions about that, you can reach out to me directly. I'm in the Discord server, NA Eric. So if you have questions about that, reach out to me directly. Other than that, we have community game nights every night not every night, Jesus Christ, every Tuesday at 7:15 Eastern. That you're going for like 3-4 hours. It's been pretty good the last few weeks. We've gotten some quite a few custom games going, so been very fun. Go in and answer our additional question of the week, please, and check out our Patreon. And if you have any feedback for us or questions, please submit them to questions@trinityforcepodcast.com or in the feedback thread of the Discord server, which can also be found on our website, a link to the Discord server at trinityforcepodcast.com. But other than that, this has been episode 795. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen, and we will see all of you next time.
Bye.